And we have our colleague with us, Marianna Spring from BBC Verify.
How are you guys?
We're here. We're all good here. It's been a dramatic night. We were chatting a little bit earlier, Marianna, about Elon Musk and the role that he's played in all of this. Obviously coming quite late on board to the Trump campaign, but playing a massive role in it.
Yeah, and if you were following his feed on X, you know, he started tweeting really early on, kind of game, set, match, this is it. He's been really, really vocal about his support for Donald Trump on his own feed on X. And there are all kinds of accounts that have really grown their reach and popularity on X in support of Kamala Harris to some extent, but also very much in support of Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump mentions him in the speech, you know, calls him out, says he's this new star, he's this superstar, he's a big deal. And so a lot of this is about Elon Musk, the person, you know, this very successful kind of entrepreneur, innovator, who Donald Trump really likes and seems to really like. And a lot of this is about X, which I spend a lot of my time investigating, what we used to call Twitter. And I think that it's interesting because Trump became kind of known during that first presidency for his relationship with Twitter, the Twitter of old. It's almost like this is the kind of reinvention of, there's a whole new Twitter, there's a whole new space online. There are changes at X that have made a difference to the kind of content on that site, the ability to purchase a blue tick, how that offers your post prominence, changes to the algorithm, questions about whether false and misleading information is removed or not. They have community notes, but not the same rules that they used to have, and questions about how the site has turbocharged the spread of some of that content too. All of that, I think, is kind of in play as we enter this new time, and that relationship between Elon Musk and Donald Trump feels like one that's going to be quite significant, and it's kind of reinvented the wheel really of political campaigning online, because Elon Musk is kind of part of a universe of people, the podcasters and some of the alternative media that we've been kind of hearing quite a lot about during the campaign. And he's really supportive of them. He even tweeted, you know, you are the media now, about his own followers. Yeah. Referring to all the kinds of people that are making their own content and in opposition to what he'd consider the traditional media.
And there was that interesting cartoon that was going around on X of Elon Musk holding up Joe Rogan, holding up Donald Trump, like to the sky, to the clouds kind of thing, just showing that interplay between, I mean, a lot of money, let's be honest here as well. We're not talking just about social media here, we're talking about major buckets of cash behind it.
Yeah, we're talking about people who are very rich, we're talking about very successful products in some cases, or podcasts as well, reaching, you know, huge numbers. So this is a whole kind of ecosystem, for want of a better word, that exists kind of as a result of social media. Characters and people that, you know, certainly weren't around in 2016 when Donald Trump became president before, and are around now. And I think that just tells us quite a lot about the evolution of the online world too, and the way that it's changed how people consume all kinds of information, including their news, and how Donald Trump has kind of historically been good at playing into that social media world. Kamala Harris did actually have a really active campaign online. Lots of people like the Swifties, for example, who support Taylor Swift, who are sharing content in support of her. But ultimately, it does feel as though Elon Musk and his supporters and Donald Trump's supporters have succeeded in really kind of galvanizing that support. And there are lots of things beyond social media that affect how people vote and what happens. But it does kind of create this certain buzz and momentum. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens on X over the next few months.
I'm wondering, Marianna, the ideological alignment between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. You know, he decided to endorse him after the assassination attempt, and we saw him then give his full-throated support. You know, he's tweeting how many times a day in support of Donald Trump. But, you know, if you look at some of the platform points of the more conservative part of Donald Trump's agenda, the Project 2025 agenda, which is not his, of course, but that would involve things that Elon Musk would say, hey, that's a violation of free speech. You know, there's not a direct alignment between these two men on politics, is there?
No, not necessarily at all. And in fact, kind of Elon Musk has spoken quite openly about his track record of voting in different ways to how he perhaps now feels about politics. And he shares that a lot on X. A lot of it has revolved around this issue of freedom of expression that you mentioned there, and how important free speech is to both Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Elon Musk's entire philosophy at X appears to be about freedom of expression. There are questions about that and the limits of that and how that works, particularly because people who are targeted with extreme hate and abuse could argue that their freedom of expression is inhibited when that happens. I think that a lot of this has actually come down to the people, and so much of social media is kind of allergic to policy and ideas, and it's about characters and characters that succeed in kind of growing a following and reaching people. And these two characters, effectively, who are real people, have aligned with one another. And, you know, I think that this really is starting to change the way, it really does feel like the next evolution. You think of just kind of like everything that's happened at Twitter since 2016 and Donald Trump kind of tweeting in the middle of the night. And what's that all going to look like now? Who knows? Who knows?
We saw the Donald Trump campaign targeting younger people, young men in particular, and from what we see in the exit polls, it looks like that has worked, that he has gotten a lot of extra support with first-time voters or people who'd never voted before, and young men in particular. How does that align with some of what the discussions we see, which you might call, I suppose, anti-woke or, you know, anti-cancel culture within those groups?
It's interesting because Donald Trump has a very active supporter base. He also has a very active campaign who've been putting out loads of content on social media that has successfully gamed the algorithms, for want of a better word, that has succeeded in getting itself kind of recommended to the top of people's feeds. Some of those people will have kind of pre-existing views about, like you mentioned, this kind of the concept of being woke or particular value systems that they don't agree with. But I think a lot of it is also about reaching the feeds of people who just aren't that into politics, but see it and think, this is funny, or I like this, or I'm interested in this, and I kind of am interested in this idea, and I'm going to see where it takes me. And it feels as though that, you know, if you look at Kamala Harris's social media content, the content that her fans, for want of a better word, have shared, a lot of that was very positive. A lot of it was montages, quite kind of aspirational and inspirational in that way, but that doesn't always play as well with the algorithms, and you do find that it's often the provocative stuff, the stuff that evokes a reaction, good or bad, that does manage to cut through.
All right.
I feel like people will be doing PhDs on all of this for the many years to come.
I feel like I've already done
one. You've got one there ready to go. Yeah, Marianna Spring from BBC Verified. Thank you for that.
So much.